Some women seek attention. Others attract it effortlessly. The Sigma female belongs to the latter, an independent force who captivates without trying, who intrigues without effort. She doesn't chase, she doesn't conform, and she certainly doesn't rely on validation to define her worth. Men aren't just drawn to her, they become consumed by the mystery she embodies. She moves differently, detached from the usual social games, immune to empty flattery, and uninterested in proving anything. This unpredictability sparks an obsession. The harder a man tries to win her over, the less of her he seems to grasp. The usual strategies, dominance, charm, or status, fail to impress. And for those who are used to control, this realization is both irresistible and infuriating. Why do men struggle to understand her? What makes her presence so magnetic, yet so impossible to hold on to? And why does the same energy that draws them in ultimately leave them questioning themselves? Today we break down the psychological paradox of the Sigma female, why she stands apart, why men chase, and why only the truly secure can handle her. If you're ready to unlock the power of self-mastery and attraction on your own terms, subscribe to the Sigma Sisterhood channel, where confidence is natural, independence is celebrated, and power is owned, never given away. 1. The unscripted allure, why men can't resist the Sigma female. In a world where most people seek attention, the Sigma female commands it, without even trying. She isn't loud, she doesn't seek validation, and yet, she is the one who lingers in a man's mind long after she's left the room. This is the silent siren effect, an attraction so subtle yet so powerful that it draws men in like a gravitational force. Unlike women who actively engage to build interest through flirtation, humor, or body language, the Sigma female does the opposite. She remains composed, observing rather than performing, creating an air of mystery that is impossible to ignore. Men are wired to solve problems, to analyze, to figure things out. When faced with a woman who doesn't follow the usual script, who doesn't seek their approval, who doesn't react predictably, they find themselves caught in a psychological maze. Every glance, every word, every small gesture suddenly becomes something to decode. Was that a smile? Did she hold eye contact a little longer than usual? What is she thinking? The lack of overt signals makes them crave her attention even more. She doesn't play hard to get. She is hard to get simply because she values depth over distraction. She has no desire to put on a show or prove her worth, and that alone sets her apart. This detachment confuses the male psyche. In a world driven by social validation, where likes, comments, and attention fuel self-worth, the Sigma female stands completely outside the game. And that makes men desperate to pull her in. But here's the twist. She's not resisting, nor is she testing. She's simply existing on her own terms, and the more she does, the more they chase. 2. Detachment as a magnet. Why the Sigma female's independence drives men wild. Nothing unsettles a man more than a woman who doesn't need him. For centuries, men have been conditioned to see themselves as providers, offering protection, resources, and status in exchange for loyalty and affection. Their self-worth is often intertwined with how much they can offer a woman. But then, they meet the Sigma female, a woman who is completely self-sufficient, who doesn't seek financial security, emotional dependency, or social status from anyone but herself. This shakes them to their core. When a man meets a woman who seems completely content on her own, his instinct is to test that. He might try to impress her with wealth, power, or charm. But when she doesn't respond the way most women do, when she remains unaffected by the usual tactics, something unexpected happens. Instead of feeling reassured, he feels challenged. Why doesn't she need my validation? Why isn't she impressed by what I bring to the table? What does she know that I don't? It triggers a deep, often subconscious need to prove himself, to break through her detachment and get her attention. The irony? The more he needs that validation, the further she drifts. The Sigma female doesn't play games. She's not withholding attention to manipulate. She simply doesn't rely on it. She is comfortable in her own solitude, selective with her energy, and unwilling to engage in relationships that don't genuinely align with her values. This scarcity mindset is what makes her even more desirable. In human psychology, anything rare becomes more valuable. Because the Sigma female isn't constantly available, because she doesn't seek external approval, her presence becomes something men crave even when they don't understand why. She moves on her own terms, and men who are used to being the center of attention suddenly find themselves in an unfamiliar position, chasing instead of leading. 3. The unchaseable dilemma. When pursuit becomes an obsession. Men are taught from a young age that if they want something, they have to go after it. Effort equals success. Grand gestures, persistence, and unwavering confidence are supposed to be the keys to winning a woman's heart. But then they meet the Sigma female. She doesn't react to pursuit the way most women do. While others may respond to flattery, attention, or persistence, she remains indifferent, not because she's playing hard to get, but because she genuinely doesn't need external validation. This disrupts the usual hunter-prey dynamic that men are used to. The more he tries, the less she engages. The harder he chases, the more distant she seems. Instead of reward, he's met with neutrality. Instead of excitement, he's met with composure. For men who are used to control, this is both frustrating and addicting. They convince themselves that if they just try harder, if they just say the right thing, prove their worth, or break through her calm exterior, they'll win her over. But the Sigma female isn't a prize to be won. She isn't resisting. She's simply not interested in playing the game. And for men who tie their worth to their ability to impress women, this realization is devastating. It forces them to confront an uncomfortable truth. Not every woman will be won over, no matter how much effort is put in. Some men accept this and move on. But others, they spiral. This is where admiration turns into frustration. The same qualities they once respected, her independence, her self-sufficiency, her detachment, become threatening. What was once intrigue turns into resentment. Some will say she's too cold. Others will call her arrogant. But the truth? They are simply confronting their own insecurities. The Sigma female forces men to ask themselves, do I want her because I respect her? Or do I want her because I need to prove something to myself? Only the rarest of men, those secure in their own identity, can answer honestly. 4. The male ego versus the Sigma reality. When confidence turns into a crisis. For many men, confidence is tied to control. They believe that their ability to win women over, whether through charm, status, or persistence, is proof of their worth. Society reinforces this by equating effort with success. If a man tries hard enough, he should be able to get the girl. But the Sigma female challenges this entire framework. She doesn't react predictably. She doesn't reward pursuit with attention. And most importantly, she doesn't need a man to validate her existence. For a self-assured man, this isn't a problem. He respects her independence and either aligns with her energy or moves on. But for a man whose confidence is built on external validation, her disinterest isn't just rejection, it's a direct attack on his ego. And that's where the downward spiral begins. At first, he admires her. He's drawn to her confidence, to the way she moves through life without seeking approval. But then, he realizes that she isn't impressed by his usual tactics. His charm, his dominance, even his wealth, none of it shifts her focus. Suddenly, admiration turns into frustration. She's too difficult. She thinks she's better than everyone else. She must be damaged. These aren't objective observations. They're defense mechanisms. When a man isn't secure in himself, he externalizes his discomfort, blaming her for not responding the way he expects. But here's the truth. The Sigma female isn't rejecting him. She's just not moved by ego-driven performances. This is why so many men find themselves obsessed, because they aren't just chasing her, they're chasing the idea of winning her over. She represents an unsolved puzzle, a challenge to their own sense of worth. And when they can't win, they either double down or walk away feeling defeated. The men who struggle most with the Sigma female aren't weak. They're just conditioned to expect a certain dynamic. But those who thrive in her presence, they don't chase. They meet her as equals. 5. Attraction versus addiction. When the chase becomes self-destructive. For some men, attraction to a Sigma female isn't just about desire. It becomes an addiction. It starts as fascination. She's different. She doesn't seek validation. She doesn't fall for the usual tricks. She's the exception to every woman they've encountered before. But soon, fascination turns into compulsion. Every small interaction becomes significant. A glance, a subtle smile, a moment of eye contact. Each one fuels the belief that if they just try a little harder, they can break through her self-sufficiency and make her need them. This is where obsession begins. The Sigma female's unpredictable nature plays into a psychological principle known as intermittent reinforcement, the same mechanism that makes gambling addictive. When something is unpredictable, the rare moments of attention feel more valuable than constant validation. If she gives him a little acknowledgement, he sees it as a breakthrough. If she pulls away again, he convinces himself that he just needs to do more to win her over. And the cycle repeats. This is why so many men struggle to let go of a Sigma female. It's not just about her. It's about what she represents. She forces them to confront their own insecurities, their own need for external approval, and their own fears of irrelevance. Some men recognize this cycle and step away. Others, they lose themselves in it. 6. The only type of man who can handle a Sigma female. While most men are drawn to the Sigma female, only a rare type of man can actually thrive beside her. It's not the loudest. It's not the most dominant. It's not the one with the highest status. It's the self-mastered man. Unlike insecure men who rely on external validation, a self-mastered man doesn't need constant reassurance. He doesn't measure his worth by how many women he can attract. He isn't intimidated by her independence. He respects it. This type of man stands out because he moves with quiet confidence. He doesn't feel the need to prove himself because he already knows his worth. He values depth over superficiality. He isn't chasing a fantasy. He's seeking a real connection. He has his own purpose. His life isn't centered around winning women over. He has his own mission, his own goals, his own sense of fulfillment. This is the only kind of man who can match a Sigma female's energy. Because while most men spiral trying to capture her attention, he simply exists in his own power. And that, more than anything, is what makes her respect him. 7. The Sigma female as a mirror. Why she exposes more than just attraction. The obsession with the Sigma female isn't really about her. It's about what she reveals in men. She is a mirror. To the insecure man, she reflects his unhealed wounds, his need for validation, his fear of rejection, his discomfort with a woman who doesn't need him. To the self-assured man, she reflects his own strength, his ability to stand beside her, to respect her autonomy, to value partnership over control. This is why men either spiral around her or thrive with her, because she forces them to confront the truth about themselves. So the real question isn't, why do men lose control around the Sigma female? It's, how many men are willing to do the inner work to match her energy? The final truth, a woman who moves on her own terms. The Sigma female doesn't reject people. She simply walks her own path. She isn't interested in proving herself. She isn't looking for validation. She isn't easily impressed. And because of that, she attracts obsession, frustration, admiration, and resentment, all at the same time. She moves differently. She chooses differently. And only those who genuinely align with her will ever get close enough to truly understand her. So if you ever find yourself chasing a Sigma female, ask yourself, are you drawn to her? Or are you chasing the challenge of trying to win her over? Because the difference between admiration and obsession is the difference between confidence and insecurity. 8. The illusion of control. Why men lose themselves in the chase. Most men are used to a world where effort equals reward. They believe that persistence wins affection, that proving their worth secures loyalty, and that attraction follows a predictable pattern. But when they meet a Sigma female, all of these assumptions crumble. She does not respond to grand gestures. She does not feel flattered by attention alone. And she certainly does not entertain the idea that a man's validation is something she should work for. She operates outside the usual social scripts, existing in a space where she does not seek approval because she has already given it to herself. For men who have built their confidence around being in control, this is deeply unsettling. The usual strategies no longer work. Where most women might be swayed by persistence, the Sigma female remains unbothered. Where others might be charmed by status or wealth, she remains focused on her own path. This realization can send men into a tailspin. At first, they respect her. Then, when they realize they cannot win her the way they've won others, they start to question themselves. Their sense of control slips away, replaced by frustration, overthinking, and an increasing obsession with trying to break through her walls. But here's the truth. There are no walls. She is not playing hard to get. She is simply being herself. The idea that she must be conquered is a construct of the male ego, not her reality. And for men who have never encountered a woman who truly does not need them, this is an ego check they never expected. Some men will double down, texting more, trying harder, overcompensating with extravagant efforts to get her attention. Others will retreat, claiming she is too cold or too independent. But both reactions stem from the same realization. They are not in control. This is where the obsession becomes dangerous, not because the Sigma female is doing anything manipulative, but because some men cannot handle a woman who refuses to be controlled. A man secure in himself will either align with her or move on. But those who rely on dominance to feel powerful, they will spiral, because the moment they realize they cannot shape her reality, they must finally face their own. 9. When attraction becomes a psychological addiction. The Sigma female does not just attract interest, she triggers obsession. And for some men, this obsession can become self-destructive. At first it seems simple. She is confident, independent, and detached from social expectations. She doesn't play games, doesn't need constant validation, and isn't moved by superficial charm. To a man who is used to women responding predictably, this difference is magnetic. But what starts as intrigue quickly morphs into something else. The unpredictability of the Sigma female taps into one of the strongest psychological triggers, intermittent reinforcement. This is the same principle that makes gambling addictive. When the reward is inconsistent and unpredictable, the desire to obtain it increases. For men caught in this cycle, every small moment of attention from a Sigma female feels like a victory. A glance, a short conversation, or even a neutral response can be interpreted as progress. But when she withdraws again, simply because she is living her life, he feels the loss deeply. And so, the chase begins. He starts thinking, maybe if I impress her more, she'll notice me. Maybe if I prove how much I care, she'll finally open up. Maybe if I just say the right thing, she'll choose me. This push and pull dynamic creates a psychological loop where he isn't just attracted to her, he is addicted to the idea of winning her over. He mistakes the emotional highs and lows for passion, when in reality, he is trapped in his own need for validation. This is how some men lose themselves. They shift their entire behavior to try and fit what they think will make her respond. They stop being authentic, replacing their true personality with a performance designed to earn her attention. But the Sigma female is intuitive. She recognizes inauthenticity immediately, and instead of being flattered, she is exhausted. A man who alters himself just to gain her approval is no longer someone she respects. He is someone she avoids. This is where attraction turns into self-sabotage. Instead of stepping back and reassessing, some men chase harder, mistaking their own obsession for love. But the truth is, they don't love her. They love the challenge. 10. The self-mastered male. The only man who can truly handle a Sigma female. While most men find themselves trapped in a cycle of fascination and frustration with the Sigma female, there is one type of man who thrives in her presence. He is not the loudest, not the most dominant, and not the one who relies on status to feel important. He is self-mastered. Unlike insecure men who need constant validation, the self-mastered man already knows his worth. He does not seek approval from others because he has already given it to himself. He moves with quiet confidence, not because he needs to be seen, but because he is grounded in his own identity. This is the only kind of man who can stand beside a Sigma female without feeling the need to dominate or control her. He is not intimidated by her independence, he respects it. He does not see her detachment as a challenge. He sees it as a reflection of his own ability to be whole on his own. What makes the self-mastered man different? He does not react emotionally to rejection. He understands that attraction is a two-way street and does not take it personally if someone is not interested. He values depth over superficiality. He isn't just looking for an attractive woman, he is looking for someone who challenges him intellectually and emotionally. He has his own mission in life. His purpose is not defined by relationships or external validation. He has his own goals, his own passions, and his own sense of fulfillment. This is the only type of man who can genuinely connect with a Sigma female. Because while most men are chasing attention, he is seeking alignment.